I stick up for my teammates, stick up for myself, and so sometimes I think that's okay to be feisty and to be yourself.
Everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do.
They tried to find her quiet. It didn't work. Because when Sophie Cunningham stared into the mic and said, "What is going on with the refs?" and finding me $500 isn't going to do anything, something snapped across the WNBA. Fans didn't just hear a soundbite, they heard a warning shot.
Look, you go down into the trees and things happen, and Kiki Iriafen right there. What I did, well, you kind of grab up, and then Sophie Cunningham pops right up.
This wasn't a hot take. This was a line in the sand. And from that moment on, everything about how the league treated its biggest draw and how a certain enforcer responded would be judged by a single, simple standard: protect the star or watch the whole thing burn.
At the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul.
Sophie didn't arrive in Indiana to be quiet background music. She came in advertised as tough, feisty, the teammate who smiles with you after wins and stares down trouble when it walks in the door. The Fever needed that. For a year, viewers had watched Caitlin Clark get hit, grabbed and chopped with a whistle that seemed to vanish at the worst possible moments. Fans were begging for someone, anyone, to stand up, not on Twitter, not in a post-game quote, but in real time.
I mean, she has changed our game in the best possible way in every way.
From day one, Sophie spoke plainly about Caitlin's impact, transforming the game, growing audiences, bringing in people who didn't even know they liked women's basketball until she showed up and made them care. Most players tiptoe around that topic. Sophie didn't. She spoke about Caitlin like you'd talk about a teammate you'd actually fight for, and then she proved it. Even in the preseason, you could see it forming, that hard edge that separates "we play hard" from "don't start with us." A rookie gave an extra shove, and Sophie popped up so fast you could almost hear the record scratch. No speech, no theatrics, just that straight, old-school message players have always understood: we're not doing this today. It was a preview of the season. The cheap shots, the swallowed whistles, the insistence from certain corners that it's just physical basketball. Fans know the difference between physical and reckless. So does a veteran who spent years in the trenches. Sophie watched, took mental notes, and waited. The moment that turned a loyal teammate into a folk hero landed in mid-June, when Indiana and Connecticut played a game that felt like it ran on short fuses and broken patience. First came a swipe to the face, then a body check that would have earned a penalty in another sport. And still, no real accountability. People had seen this movie too many times. But this time, the ending changed. Late in the game, on what looked like a routine break, Sophie hunted down the play and dragged it to a stop like she was grabbing the steering wheel before the car hit the wall. Whistle, chaos, ejections, a blur of voices, hands, teammates, refs, and then something quieter. The sound of a crowd telling a player without words, "We saw what you did, we know why." You didn't have to agree with the method to understand the message. Someone finally said, "Not our star, not like this." What happened next is the part every league office underestimates. Markets reward conviction. The same week, certain commentators tut-tutted about sportsmanship. The fans voted with their screens and wallets. Clips rocketed around social feeds. Comments piled up with a single theme: "Thank you for standing up for Caitlin." Sales spiked, follows exploded, and a role player, 8 points here, hard defense there, suddenly became one of the most recognized names on the roster. Not because she hit 6 threes in a quarter, because she did the thing the audience had been waiting a year to see. She drew a hard boundary and dared anyone to cross it. The league answered with a fine, the smallest possible pressure valve. It was supposed to whisper enough. Instead, it shouted, "We don't get it." Because finding a player who just plugged into a fan base the size of a small country does not reduce noise, it multiplies it. 500 here, 900 there. Those numbers don't fix a culture problem. They just confirm that you've got one. And for Sophie, each slip of paper didn't feel like punishment. It felt like permission to keep going. She didn't soften the edges, didn't run to a PR script, didn't post a carefully edited apology. She told the truth as she saw it. If you won't protect the biggest draw in the league, I will. That's not a tantrum, that's leadership when leadership is missing. Then she did the thing that separates moments from movements. She kept adding weight. A viral TikTok with a wink that said, "Yep, I know exactly what I did." A pregame fit that launched 1,000 tweets, loud and loyal to her trio. a spicy take on expansion cities that said the quiet part out loud about what players actually think when the schedule drops. The internet spun, the media clutched pearls, and Sophie made one more decision that would change the temperature of the whole season. She launched a microphone. Show me something. Perfect title, because what she planned to show wasn't a grid of highlights. It was the messy, uncomfortable truth of a league trying to grow under the pressure of a star who brings both love and heat. On episode 1, she didn't tiptoe. She walked back into that June game and put a spotlight on the officiating like a coach in a film room. If it's a flagrant for anyone else, why not here? If consistency is the standard, show me the consistency. She admitted what everyone already knows. Reffing is hard, angles lie to you, fast plays make fools of all of us. But she pressed on the real point. When the same player gets the short end of the whistle for months, the problem isn't one missed call, it's a pattern. The league responded with another fine, bigger, sharper, a we're serious warning shot. But here's the thing about warning shots. They only work if you're holding the high ground. By then, the high ground had moved. It lived inside the trust she built with a fan base that had been told for a year that what they were seeing with their own eyes wasn't happening. Sophie gave that audience permission to stop gaslighting themselves. She said, "You're not crazy. This is inconsistent. And if you won't say it, I will." When the fans feel believed, they don't back away. They lean in. From there, she went wider. The rookie test the new star playbook. She pulled the curtain. Said out loud what everybody whispers. Rookies get checked, but this was more. The double standards? She pointed right at them. The league's favorite narratives? She poked holes with a smile. At one point, she even addressed the most taboo comparison in the building. Who gets a superstar whistle and who doesn't? She said it plainly. Don't tell me we can't touch one star while another is eating elbows every night. She didn't do it to start a flame war. She did it to ask a real question the league has to solve if it wants to keep the new viewers it just earned. And it wasn't just refs and rules. She had the kind of loyalty conversation that fans actually care about. When a respected veteran bounced out of Indiana mid-story, Sophie didn't slam the door. She left a note that said, "You could have told us. You could have told the fans." In an era where players change jerseys like headphones, that old-fashioned courtesy matters to people. You say goodbye on the way out. You acknowledge the folks who cheered for you in good faith. That's not drama, that's respect. Sophie called for it. Every time the league tightened the screws, she answered with more sunlight. 3 fines in, she was laughing on air about it. Half because the numbers were comical, half because she understood what was really going on. Power hates mirrors, and Sophie had become a walking mirror, reflecting the parts of the W a lot of people would prefer to crop out. Not because she hates the league, because she loves the game enough to risk being the bad guy in the short term if it means a better product in the long term. That's not rebellion for clicks, that's conviction. Of course, the story took a sharp turn when her knee went, and MCL is a cruel opponent. It doesn't care about storylines. The moment she went down, the entire building felt it. And there's something telling about what came next. Teammates offered love. Fans offered prayers. And voices around Caitlyn's circle said the things Sophie had been preaching since spring: protect your players or you'll lose them. That's not just about safety, it's about business. You can't sell what you can't keep healthy. The injury didn't silence her, it amplified her through a different channel. She kept the mic hot, and the conversation louder than ever. Here's the truth viewers picked up on without needing a league memo. Whether you love Sophie's tactics or hate them, you understand exactly what she stands for. Stand up for your people, call out double standards. Don't pretend a fine fixes a cultural problem. Don't speak in circles when straight talk is needed. That kind of clarity is rare. It's also marketable. That's why jerseys vanish from online stores overnight. That's why 2-minute clips of a post-game comment can outrun a full highlights package. People aren't just following a player, they're following a posture. And that posture is why the league suddenly found itself in a chess match it didn't plan for. Traditional playbook says, issue a statement, send a memo, add a fine, keep it moving. But the new playbook, the one built on players with millions of followers and audiences who feel personally invested, doesn't obey press releases. If you want to calm a storm now, you don't hand out umbrellas, you change the weather. That means consistency night to night. That means owning mistakes publicly when you make them. That means taking care of the face of your league like she's exactly that. Not because she deserves special treatment above fairness, but because fairness is the special treatment. Apply it equally and watch the temperature drop on its own. There's an old school piece to this new school story, and maybe that's why it resonates. In a different era, coaches handled this behind closed doors, captains handled it in the huddle, and the league handled it with a firm hand and a quiet phone call. But fans didn't have a seat in those rooms. Now they do, because players carry the room in their pocket. When Sophie hits publish, it's not a leak, it's a living room. She invited the audience in. And once you invite people into your living room and tell them the truth, good luck convincing them to leave just because a fine says so. So what do we do with a season like this? If you're on the outside looking in, you might say Sophie went rogue. If you're a Fever fan, you probably call it something else. Finally, someone matched the energy the schedule demanded. Finally, someone put a body in front of cheap shots. Finally, someone said out loud the thing everyone was dancing around. It's not that she's perfect, it's that she's consistent. The same fierce loyalty that makes her throw a shoulder into chaos is the reason she looks into a lens and says, "Say it, she's the face." That's unity, not division. That's leadership, not troublemaking. The league now stands at a fork that every sports organization eventually reaches. Do you discipline the symptom or treat the cause? Discipline the symptom, and you'll write more checks to more players who will keep doing what Sophie did because the audience is done being told their eyes are lying. Treat the cause, tighten standards, invest in officiating quality, communicate transparently when you miss, and suddenly the temperature drops. Fewer flashpoints, fewer brawls, fewer sound bites that nibble at the edges of your brand, more trust. For Caitlin Clark's fans, the lesson of this year was simple. Your voice matters, but an insider's voice changes things faster. Sophie became the bullhorn, and she didn't waste the opportunity by making it about clicks or clout. She made it about a principle so old it doesn't need rebranding. Protect your own. That's why the fan base rewarded her. That's why the numbers ballooned. That's why fines turned into confetti. They weren't buying rebellion, they were buying reliability. And if you want to understand why this scared the do more than any one fight or one post, here it is. They can't control it. Not with a note, not with a check, not with a carefully triangulated PR arc. You can't outspin an honest sentence. You can only meet it, or get buried by it. For a long time, the league could choose when to amplify stories and when to let them fade. This year, a player chose for them. That's not the apocalypse, that's a chance. Because once you've been forced to hear a painful truth, you can do something with it. Imagine the product if the Sophie standard became the norm. Whistle consistency so tight, fans stop arguing about stripes and start arguing about plays again. Stars healthy and marketed without apology. Role players lauded not just for hustle, but for heart. A league that talks to its viewers like adults, who can handle candor without the sugar. That's not chaos. That's growth. And it doesn't actually require a revolution. It requires the simplest fix of all. Do what you've always said you value. Fairness, safety, respect. Sophie's knee will heal. That's how this goes. The body breaks, the body rebuilds. The player returns. The question is what the league will look like when she laces them up again. Will it be the same old shrug at the same old collisions? Or will it be an arena where the refs set the tone early? The cheap stuff dies fast, and the storylines stay on the basketball. Will it be fines as band-aids or action as medicine? Because here's the secret that never makes it into a press release. You don't need to silence outspoken players when your house is in order. The volume naturally drops when the problems do. And if you're still wondering why one teammate's outrage turned into a movement, it's because the timing was perfect. Caitlin's audience is massive and fiercely loyal. They're tired of seeing her toughness framed as a reason to let things slide. They're tired of being told that growing pains for the league just happen to land on their favorite players' ribs and wrists. Sophie didn't just tap that energy, she respected it. She talked to them like adults. She didn't sanitize it for brand safety. She didn't pretend fines were anything but schmeant to send a message. She told them what she saw from the bench, from the huddle, from the scrap. And she told them she'd keep talking until something changed. That's why, when the title of this video says how Sophie Cunningham made the WNBA panic, it isn't asking you to pick sides in a random internet argument. It's asking you to recognize what panic actually looks like in a league office. It's not screaming. It's control slipping through your fingers. It's a player holding a mirror to your process and connecting with more people in 1 week than your message discipline did in a year. Panic is realizing the old playbook doesn't work on the new audience because the new audience is allergic to spin. If you've watched this far, you already understand the truth behind the headlines. The WNBA didn't just lose control of a player, it lost control of a narrative it assumed it owned. And it didn't lose it to drama or chaos. It lost it to someone who believes the game deserves better. You may not love every method. You might wish certain words were softer, but you can't deny the effect. More eyes, more engagement, more honesty. That's the strange gift of a season that felt like a storm. It shook the house, but the foundation it exposed is worth saving. So here's where we land. If you protect your stars, you protect your sport. If you reward consistency, you earn trust. If you find a microphone instead of fixing a problem, don't be surprised when the microphone gets louder. Sophie didn't invent this truth. She just carried it like a banner and dared people to look away. They didn't. They clicked. They commented. They bought jerseys. They showed up. That's market feedback in its purest form. Ignore it at your peril. What happens next? The optimist in me says the conversation gets better. The game gets cleaner. The officiating gets sharper. The league leans into the players who move culture and stops pretending safe PR is the same as good leadership. The realist in me says it'll take time. Big institutions don't pivot on a dime, but the audience has already moved. They're here for the honesty now. They're here for the accountability. They're here for the players who tell the story straight, even when it costs them a few zeros. And Sophie, she'll be back. Knee braced, eyes bright, the same as always. Because when you're built like that, you don't change the core. You just add more proof, more games, more moments when a teammate takes a hard hit, and the message goes out across the floor without a single word. Not today, not our star, not like this. If you felt that, you know what to do. Drop a trophy in the comments, because you earned it. And remember this for next time. Fines don't fix culture. People do. Protect your players. Tell the truth. Let the game be the star. Everything else, noise, panic, memos, gets quiet on its own. Now, your turn. Was this rebellion, or was it responsibility? Did the panic, or finally hear what fans and players have been saying for a year? We'll read every take, because this isn't just a story about one player and one league. It's a story about how sports grow up, one hard conversation at a time. And here's a practical test the league can pass tomorrow without a committee or a press conference. Publish the points of emphasis in plain language and stick to them for a month. Say out loud what the standard is for hand checks, hip checks, illegal screens, and retaliatory fouls. Call it the same in Vegas as you call it in Indiana. If a star initiates contact, call it. If a role player gets trucked, call it. No celebrity whistle, no villain whistle, just a basketball whistle. You do that for 30 days and watch how fast the temperature drops, how quickly fans return to arguing about plays and not policies. There's also a culture piece no memo can fake. The old heads know this. When a locker room is right, the game polices itself. Cheap shots don't survive on teams that prize accountability. The fever for all the chaos tapped into something old school this year. Protect your own, play hard, own your mistakes. It isn't sexy, it's sturdy. And sturdy wins when the lights get hottest. Give that identity a fair whistle, and you'll start to recognize the team Indiana always believed it could be. Not just a fun ticket, a real problem in May and June. Meanwhile, Sophie has already shown the blueprint for the modern player with an old soul. She competes like a 90s vet, talks like a 2025 creator, and understands that silence isn't neutral when your teammate is getting bounced off the hardwood. People call it rebellion. She'd probably call it doing her job. And if you're being honest, that's why it worked. Conviction reads as clear as a box score. Even those who disagreed with the method understood the motive. Sponsors and suits should pay attention to that. Fans don't demand perfection, they demand honesty. They'll forgive a hard foul faster than they'll forgive a gaslit explanation. They'll sit through a loss if they believe the rules were the same on both ends. And they'll spend real money, merch, tickets, subscriptions, when they feel the product respects their eyes. That's why fines never landed. They punished volume, not problem. They treated a microphone like a menace instead of a mirror. If you need the simplest summary of the entire season, pin this to your fridge. Consistency builds trust. Trust builds audiences. Audiences build leagues. It's not magic, it's maintenance. Tighten mechanics. Reward discipline. Call late game contact the way you call first quarter contact. And when you miss one, and yes you will, own it fast. Put the pool report in plain English. Show the clip. Say, we'd call that differently tomorrow. You'd be shocked how quickly fans will meet you halfway when you talk to them like grown-ups. As for what's next, picture it. A healthy knee, a summer's worth of rehab grit, a training camp where the voice in the huddle is even clearer because she paid for it with real skin in the game. The first time Caitlin takes a shot and gets clipped on the wrist, the whistle is there, not because a star begged for it, but because a standard demanded it. The building exhales. Basketball takes the wheel again. That's the version of the W everybody says they want. It's reachable. It's practical. It's one decision at a time. And don't underestimate the narrative power of teammates who actually like each other. The smile after a tough bucket. The quick tap on the chest after a turnover. The "my bad" you can read from the rafters. That stuff sounds small until it isn't. It's the glue that turns highlights into habits. Sophie and Caitlin, in their very different ways, invite fans into that glue. One breaks schemes, the other breaks silence. Together, they make you care on Tuesday and show up again on Friday. So ask yourself this as we close. Did Sophie light a fire that burns down the house, or a fire that finally forces everyone to cook something better? Panic says put it out. Leadership says use it. The WNBA has the chance to take the heat and turn it into a kitchen where the recipe is simple. Protect the players, protect the product, protect the trust. Everything else is garnish. And if you're still with us, if you rode through the fouls and the fines and the microphones and the memes, then you already know how this ends. Not with a perfect league, not with a perfect player, but with a clearer promise. We'll compete hard. We'll call it fair. We'll tell the truth when it isn't. That's how you keep new fans and honor the old ones who loved this game before hashtags. That's also how you make sure the next time a teammate looks over her shoulder after a hard hit, she doesn't need an enforcer. She hears a whistle.